Hey guys, welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit, Am I the A-hole? This one's from user Daisy Cherry Blossoms. Am I the a-hole for not telling my ex I got pregnant? I, 28 female, was with my ex-husband for about 6 years. During this time, we were trying for a baby, but had no success. About 4 years into our marriage, we hit a rough patch. My ex had stress at work and slept with his co-worker to relieve it. He confessed to me rather quickly, and a week later, they sat me down and told me they were expecting a child. I was an idiot back then, and so I felt like I should forgive him because I truly believed he loved me and I thought I had no one. I wasn't. My ex's family treated me like their own, but my ex's supposed daughter was the apple of their eye. As a result of that, my ex's co-worker was a frequent presence in our lives. They felt like they had to include the mom of their grandchild for everything too, and she made her way in every family picture and memory. It didn't help that I suspected that the co-worker had feelings for my ex and flirted with him when she could. People thought that she was my ex's wife constantly, and I finally had enough when during the baby girl's first birthday party, I was told to take a picture of my ex, his mistress, his daughter, and his parents, and it didn't include me. It hit me that I was now treated as the other woman, and I realized that I deserved more than this BS. I filed for divorce a few months later and left. It was the hardest time of my life, but I ended up getting a promotion at work and met this sweet, wonderful guy. Fast forward to now. Me and my boyfriend are madly in love, and I gave birth to an adorable baby girl that I considered a miracle baby. I got pregnant with my boyfriend like 3 months after dating him. I thought it was strange that this could happen since my previous failed attempts with ex. He thought that I was the infertile one. It crossed my mind then that maybe he was the infertile one and he only believed his mistress was pregnant with his child because they were having an affair. I didn't say anything though because it was not my place anymore. However, my boyfriend was happy about my daughter's birth and posted it on Facebook and tagged me in the post. I was still friends with my ex-sister-in-law on Facebook and she saw the post. She called me up and said that she was hurt that I didn't let her know that I could actually get pregnant and the lack of child during my first marriage could be my ex's fault. He took a paternity test. Turns out, the poor baby girl was never my ex's. The co-worker apparently was dating this terrible guy during the time she slept with my ex and didn't know who the child's father was, so she just strung my ex along because she had feelings for him and thought he'd be the best father for her child. Now my ex blames me for not telling him that I was pregnant way before and him having to father this girl. He's doing pretty bad now, and I can't help but feel guilty like I should have told him. Am I the a-hole? The judgment is not the a-hole. Now let's take a look at the top comments. Digital Rabbit 75 says, not the a-hole, sucks to be him. He cheated on you and got conned. You're under no obligation to give them information. Coco Asneez says, not the a-hole. What kind of gaslighting manipulation is this? Of course you didn't need to tell your ex or his family that you were pregnant. Block him and his family if this is how they treat you and think of you. OP's Edit. I don't think I have to prove my story, and I honestly posted this not to seek validation that my ex supposedly is the worst ever, but to gain perspective since my ex and his family were my family and close confidants for a large period of my life. We were pretty close and I had promised to keep in touch after the divorce, which they were super upset about. But I really couldn't after everything that happened between us. They're now super angry at me for the divorce and for being complicit in my ex taking on the expenses of his not daughter and forming a paternal connection with her for longer than he should have. Edit 2. So here's what's been happening right now. I haven't spoken to them after this and have been avoiding my ex's calls. He texted me saying that he is sorry that he overreacted and felt guilty about prioritizing people who were never really family over me. I only replied with asking how his daughter is because even though she isn't biologically his, she is still his girl. She seems like an adorable kiddo and adores her dad. My ex's mistress is able to support the girl financially, so my ex won't contribute to that, but he says that he's still going to see her every month because he feels morally obligated to. I feel so bad for the girl because she seems to have lost her family unit. Dad, grandparents, cousins. OP, the commenters are absolutely right. You're definitely not the a-hole, and you didn't owe your ex or your ex family any kind of information about you being pregnant. That was on him. He's the one that cheated on you, and he's the one that let himself get duped like that. There's only two victims in this whole story. You and that baby girl. Let's hope her mother can do right by her and eventually provide a proper family. In any case, we have an update, so let's continue with that now. I got messages asking me to update, and I'm now frequently on Reddit, so I thought, why not? First things first, I'm getting married! My boyfriend proposed a few weeks ago and will be tying the knot once this whole mess of a year is over. I know a lot of people here said that my ex's family is toxic and I shouldn't keep in touch with them, but I did contact them to tell them about my engagement. Eek! It went well. My ex-mother-in-law cried and told me she was happy for me and apologized for everything. She felt bad about what happened and promises to keep in touch with me. My ex-sister-in-law also apologized for blowing up at me, but she was just very overwhelmed by everything going on in her family's life. I can empathize and told her that all is forgiven. This family is still super important to me, but this felt more like closure and I'm at peace with my feelings now. It's a chapter in my life that was bittersweet with a lot of great memories, but is now closed. I'll always look back fondly, but now it's time for me to move on. The last I've heard, my ex's ex-child is living with her mother and her biological father is now more involved in her life. My ex stopped visiting altogether and doesn't seem to be in great shape, but I haven't inquired because I don't feel like it's my place anymore. I wish him well and hopefully he's able to move on from this. For those who messaged me saying that this is fake, believe what you want to believe. I don't really care. I just hope that those who are reading this know that even though you are struggling, are in tough times, or are just depressed with your life, know that it will get better. It happened to me, and it happened to a lot of people. You too are special, and you too will achieve happiness. Don't give up on yourself. Do what is right. Mucho love to those who supported me. Love ya. Well, OP, I think it's good news all around. You were able to cut out the toxicity, the little girl has a dad now, and your ex, well, whatever, right? So, on that note, let's move on to the next post. This one's from user Son's College Fund. Am I the a-hole for calling my son a moron and issuing him an ultimatum? I have a son, 17 male. Recently, he was challenged to a dare by a friend of his. He accepted the dare and vandalized my car. He broke the window, scratched the body after he was dared to do so by his friend. His reasoning was that he accepted the dare, and when he heard the dare, his friend told him not to chicken out and send a video of him doing it. I was furious and called him a moron. I also gave him an ultimatum. Him and his friend should pay me the money for fixing the car, or I will take the money required to pay for fixing my car from his college fund. I felt that his idiotic actions should have consequences, but my wife disagrees and says that we should let this pass or else I will come across as an abusive a-hole to our son. Am I the a-hole? The judgment is not the a-hole. Now let's take a look at the top comments. Relief Global 4470 says, not the a-hole. A dare doesn't effing matter. He's also 17. He should know better. Also, he damaged your car. Why is your wife okay with this? He should be arrested for vandalism. No. Just me? Okay. Indy249 says, not the a-hole. I'm sorry, but your wife wants to let this pass? No effing way. I personally think you are letting him off easy. He wrecked your car of a dare, dude. Yeah, OP, you're right in everything you're doing. He is a moron and he should pay, as well as his friend. Also, doing this kind of stuff kind of shows that he's not very smart, is he? Do you think he's gonna do well in college, or should you use that money for something else? Just saying. Anyways, let's move on with the update. I think some of you might have read my previous post. I had a talk with my son about how wrong his actions were, and also talked to the parents of the other kid as well. They apologized, and my son and his friend will be paying the bill while they work till they go to university. I have also told my son that he needs counseling and will have to attend sessions before going to college when he turns 18. As I said earlier, he is still grounded for his actions, and it will be a long time before he earns my trust back. As for my wife, she accepted the punishment I have set out for him and did not oppose it. I'd like to thank you for all the advice you gave me in the previous post. This one's from user King Kazma 21. Am I the a-hole for telling my 17 male older sister, 26 female, that she is not a stay-at-home mother? My 17 male older sister, 26 female, has been married for 3 years now, and she and her husband, 28 male, have a 2-year-old son. A few days ago, she came back to our parents' home and she told us that she had a fight with her husband and if she could stay with us for a few days. She and her husband had a fight. She told us that she believed that her husband didn't appreciate much what she did around the house and that she is tired of doing anything alone and tired of being a mother. The problem is that she literally does nothing. When their child was a few months old, she said that she was tired of having to take care of the housework and taking care of their son. My brother-in-law has a really good job where he makes a lot of money. So to help my sister, he hired a maid. Since then, my sister never had to deal with the housework. Since then, up to today, they still have the maid to come and do the work. When my nephew turned 1 year old, my sister told my brother-in-law that she was tired of being a mother and she needed some time for herself. My brother-in-law has a good job, but it is also very demanding. So, alongside with the maid, he also hired a babysitter for most of the days. The only time where the babysitter isn't with their son is when he comes home or the weekends when he doesn't work. When he comes home from work, he does the laundry. He is the one responsible for the cooking and also the one responsible for taking care of their garden. Everything else is done by the maid. He is also the one responsible for getting my nephew to bed. My sister wanted to be a stay-at-home mother. When she and my brother-in-law discovered she was pregnant, she told them that it was either her being a stay-at-home mother or divorce. But now that she doesn't do anything on the house or even need to take care of their son, she doesn't want to go back to work. Most of her time, she usually just goes out with her girlfriends or watches Netflix. My brother-in-law was even worried that she might be depressed or something and tried to ask her to go to therapy, but she refuses. She believes it is degrading for a person. Apparently, their fight a few days ago was because my nephew's birthday is coming up and she decided to make an invitation card for the celebration, but apparently she forgot my nephew's name. She and her husband got into a huge fight and she ended up deciding to leave. After hearing their reason for the fight and she telling us that he doesn't appreciate what she does, I ended up saying that in reality, she doesn't do much and that she wasn't a stay-at-home mom and that she should appreciate that her husband has been putting up with all of this until now. She got angry at me, but my mother ended up being on my side. I do really feel bad now that I'm thinking about what I have said. So Reddit, am I the a-hole in this situation? The judgment is not the a-hole. Now let's take a look at the top comments. Nate Hatred says, not the a-hole. Not even close. She's barely a mother at this point. Your sister sounds super entitled and detached from reality. She has it super good and complains about it. Going down this slope, she'll end up losing custody of the child, which I'm guessing would be a win on her book. So sad to bring a child into the world without understanding the consequences. Sweet Thing 351 says, not the a-hole. She needed to hear the truth about not appreciating what she has, but I feel like maybe she is dealing with depression. That's what I kept thinking as I was reading it, but then you said her husband suspects it. I had it very bad with my second child and everything felt difficult or impossible. The little bit I could do felt world-changing. I would have your mom talk to her about the possibility of maybe her husband. OP responds, my brother-in-law tried to talk to her about therapy or at least visit a counselor, but she refused every single time. In her eyes, consulting any kind of doctor or anything alike for mental health is degrading to a person, in her words. 2 Pregnant says, info, how in the hell can she forget her own son's name? OP responds, I'm asking that myself. Their son doesn't even have a different name or anything. It is something along the lines of Mark Dillon. Easy to remember. Yeah, OP, you're not the a-hole. Even if your sister would be dealing with depression, you would not be the a-hole. If she is dealing with depression, then hopefully somebody can convince her that it is not degrading to a person to get help. Maybe the husband can talk to her friends because apparently she hangs out with them a lot, so her friends might be able to influence her. And if she is not dealing with depression, then she is lazy as F. And also, how that last commenter put it, how the hell can you forget your own son's name? But of course, that's just my opinion. Now, let's move on to the update to see what happened with the sister. A lot of you told me that it wasn't normal for my sister to forget information that is common in your life, and it was very strange that my sister simply forgot my nephew's name. Both my mother and my brother-in-law decided to sit my sister down and talk to her while I took care of my nephew. We were worried about a possible postpartum depression, so we had to at least take her to see a doctor. Basically, about my sister not wanting to see a therapist, apparently she was already seeing one but didn't tell anybody, not even my brother-in-law. According to her, she told us that she started to have doubts about being a mother. While she was pregnant, she was over the moon about having a baby, but after my nephew was born, she started to think otherwise, so she decided to seek therapy, but she was ashamed of it because she thought that we wouldn't see her as a good mother. So she didn't tell us, but after some time, some of her friends started to talk to her about things that she only talked to the therapist, and she found out that one of her friends was paying money to her therapist to get information about her. She was terrified that her friend was doing that and immediately dropped the therapy. This is the reason she didn't want to seek therapy when we tried to talk to her about it. She tried and the therapist was giving other people information about her, so she didn't trust mental health professionals anymore. After that, she lost some friends because they didn't like that she dropped the therapist just because he was giving them information, and she didn't want to stop being friends with them. So the reason she was always going to friends meetings was because she was trying to be friends with them again. Then they got to the part about her recent memory problems, and she told us that she has been forgetting a lot of things lately. It took us some convincing, but they ended up convincing her to go see a doctor for that. And we are trying to convince her that not all health professionals are like that, and that if the doctor recommends her to seek a counselor or therapist, to please try, but it probably will take us some time. She apologized for not trying to talk to us about it, and she promised to look after a doctor, and my brother-in-law decided to take some time off to go with her and be at her side. My nephew will be staying with me and my mother for a time, so they can sort things off for a while. Well, this is it. Thank you Reddit for your help with my last post, mainly about asking my sister to go to a doctor. Well, OP, it's great that your sister opened up to you guys. It's horrible that her friends were buying information from the therapist. That's not just horrible, that sounds very weird, and anybody should report that right away. I don't know where you're from, OP, so I couldn't say which agency you should go to or where to report that doctor, but hopefully you guys will. And also, your sister wants to keep being friends with people who were buying information about her? That's odd, man. She should just cut all those ties and get out. This one's from user Electronic Gas 5769. Am I the a-hole for uninviting my daughter to our Christmas gathering? I am a mother of 4 children, 2 older sons and 2 younger daughters. All of them are adults and have moved out a long time ago. I have always been close with my daughter S, while P has always liked to have her own space, which I don't mind. They're both beautiful, talented young women that I thought I couldn't be more proud of. We're having early Christmas this year, first week of December. I was inviting everyone around for Christmas dinner, gift giving, and the lot. When I phoned P yesterday to clarify a few things, she mentioned that she and her husband would not be coming. When I asked, she said that they had separated for now as he had cheated. I said that it was surely better to spend time with family if this was the case, and maybe she should come home for some time. She ummed and ahed, but then eventually she told me he had an affair with S, and they had been seeing each other for the past 2 years. I felt sick. For the past 6 months in our talks, S has alluded that she had been seeing someone and was typically girl in love. I uninvited S to the Christmas gathering and blocked her. I don't know if I'm able to deal with her before Christmas, but this is family time and family can't hurt each other like that. I am at a loss in all honesty. P is now coming, which is good because at the same time she needs stability of people who love her in my opinion. The problem is that S naturally thinks I'm in the wrong. It's none of my business, and as her mother, I can't block her and remove her from the family. My sister thinks I shouldn't get involved in their personal lives, which I think is BS. My daughter needs us right now, but then she tells me I have 2 daughters to think about, which I think isn't true. S has forfeited that right at the moment. Thankfully, my husband is liaising with S at the moment, but he is also in solidarity with me. So, are we in the wrong for uninviting a daughter for Christmas? Am I the a-hole? The judgment is not the a-hole. Now let's take a look at the top comments. Cheerily Terrified says, not the a-hole. No, sleeping with her sister's husband is a really good reason to uninvite your daughter. This is a case where one has so massively wronged the other that staying neutral or not taking sides is taking a side. I've seen a few of these that go the other way and want the betrayed sister to suck it up and put their hurt and feelings aside for the sake of the family. So good for you for not pulling that BS. Hoagie Mama says, not the a-hole. Uninviting your daughter to one family event to support your other daughter who she violated is not wrong. You don't say that you're disowning S, just that P is currently your priority. If S has even a shred of reason, this will make sense to her. She knows what she did is wrong. Are we there yet? 24 says, not the a-hole. Your daughter made a horrible choice and will have to live with the consequences. If you invite her and act like nothing is wrong, your daughter who is getting divorced will feel terrible and will not want to come. She is the one who needs emotional support right now. In the future, you can think about how to continue having a relationship with your other daughter, but at a minimum, not being invited to family events where she will make her sister uncomfortable seems like a solid natural consequence to her actions. OP's edit. My husband showed me that this had gotten a lot of responses. Too many for us to answer them all, but we will be reading through before bed. A small update. P's mother-in-law found out. While me and her have only spoken a few times, she did dote on P, and I know P got along well with her. I haven't spoken to her personally, but I know she phoned my daughter and was really supportive and crying. My sister said that if S isn't invited, then she isn't going either. Which is fine by me, she wasn't invited in the first place due to restrictions. Otherwise, I've been working and doing some crochet, so it's been quiet. Smiley face. Aw man, that's like the worst kind of betrayal. I mean, apart from getting cheated on by your husband or your wife, that the affair partner is your sibling, that has to hurt so much. That's a person she grew up with, one of her confidants. I mean, sisters, right? You would assume they're tight, in most cases. And then to be cheated on with her. Yikes. I agree with OP. It's not like she can't take any sides, but she can at least try to help the daughter that is hurting the most. And the other one knows she did something wrong, so she should just get off her high horse and confront the consequences. As a side note, what's up with OP's sister? If S isn't coming, I'm not going either. Like that's got any leverage for OP. She wasn't even invited in the first place. Anyways, let's move on with the update to see what happened. Hello all, my Christmas gathering was yesterday and my son and husband wondered if I would post an update for you all. It's been rather uneventful, but I've been equally surrounded by warmth and love while also feeling heartbroken and lonely. So first of all, since my post, my husband has been teaching me to use Reddit. I've really enjoyed being in some craft communities. My daughter Penny, previously known as P, has been staying with us. She works from home. My husband and eldest went to get some more of her stuff from her old house. Penny's mother-in-law, Jane, was there and was very helpful and sweet. She also bought some mint hot chocolate for our Penny and Christmas candles. I know they're her favorite. From what Penny has told me, Jane is having similar feelings to me. A lot of guilt over our children's decision to hurt people we love. I think at this point we have to accept that we did our best raising them. But they're adults now, so we can't beat ourselves up. Penny and Jane are going to stay in touch. I think Jane truly does think of Penny as a daughter and friend. On to some more negative things. I wrote my letter to Sally, previously known as S, during this time. I expressed that I was extremely disappointed and also disgusted. While I will continue to have a relationship with her, she won't be welcome to any family gatherings with Penny present unless Penny has met a point in her life where she feels comfortable. I told her what some of you had said, that not taking a side would be a side and that she had for all intents and purposes already uninvited herself when she was so cruel to her sister. Sally had apparently come up on Friday and knocked on the door. I was out shopping at the time. My husband spoke to her. Apparently, Sally and Michael, my son-in-law, are going to continue their relationship. I will not support it in any way or form. She may be my daughter, but that man is not welcome. I am supporting Penny through the divorce, and if Sally ever expects money for the wedding or a house, then she's a very naive girl. My husband sent her away, after which Sally said we'd have to get over it someday. Otherwise, the Christmas gathering was lovely. It was strange not getting drunk and playing board games due to the bug, but still a pleasant time. My hip hurts from the cooking, but husband and Penny did the cleaning up, so who's the real winner? I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you very much for your kind words when I last spoke to you. Edit. I know some are concerned about the bug, but please know that we live in a country with very few cases and we met within government guidelines. Well, OP, you did the right thing, and you're gonna keep doing the right thing with what you're saying. Your daughter Sally... yeah, she's not somebody I'd be proud of as a parent either. You don't do that to a sibling. And that dude Michael, well, he's just scum. Simple as that. What do you guys think? If this was you in OP's shoes, would you take a side? Would you stay quiet? What would you do? Anyways, we have a little bit of time left, so I'm gonna squeeze in another short story that also has to do with sisters. This one's from user AITA Naked Twin. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my identical twin for selling nudes online? To give some backstory, my sister, 23 female, and I, 23 female, were kicked out by our parents at the age of 18, and we have been living in an apartment together with a roommate ever since. My sister doesn't have a steady job at the moment, so I have been handling her portion of the rent on the apartment. A few weeks ago, she approached me and told me that she found a source of income and would likely be able to start paying for rent soon. I didn't ask too many questions when she told me this because I was just happy that she finally found a job. However, I was talking to our roommate 2 nights ago and found out that my sister started an OnlyFans account and has been selling naked pictures or videos of herself. Now, I am very sex positive and forward thinking. I have nothing against sex workers, but she is my identical twin. We look exactly alike in almost every way. I personally do not feel comfortable sharing my body online to strangers. On top of that, I am trying to start a professional career for myself, and I don't want employers and co-workers to find this and think that it is me. I confronted my sister when she got home later that night and told her that I will not be speaking to her until she deletes the account and that she would have to move out of the apartment. She was pretty mad about this and stormed out of the apartment and ended up sleeping at a mutual friend's house for the last 2 nights. I have talked to our roommate and some friends about this, and they think I overreacted. Am I the a-hole here? The judgment is, you're the a-hole. Now let's take a look at the top comments. Second-hand Hearts says, I completely understand your concerns, but you cannot dictate what she does online simply because she looks like you. It sucks, but that's the reality of it. Soft, you're the a-hole. TextFiend says, not the a-hole. Her actions could directly F up your career in the future, but there's nothing you can realistically do to stop her. So start thinking about ways you can differentiate your appearance from hers. Different hairstyles, if they're similar at the moment. Maybe a tattoo somewhere a little hidden, but that you could show people if you need to. At this point, in your position, I might even start saving up for a nose job. OP responds, I was thinking about this. We both have blonde hair, so I might dye mine brown. I have been thinking about doing that for a while anyways. Chloe to Chloe says, I do understand not wanting to endure the stigma of being a sex worker, but as crappy as it is, it's her body, her choice. No a-holes here. In virtue of time, I'm gonna skip my commentary and we're gonna head on straight to the update. Hey y'all, so a while back I made a post about how my twin sister starting an OnlyFans and I was considering kicking her out of the apartment. In that post, it was determined that I was the a-hole. A lot has happened since then, so I decided to make an update. After reading your comments, I decided that I probably took it too far, and although I was embarrassed and felt violated, at the end of the day, it is her body and not mine. Just because we look the same doesn't mean I get to have a say, nor should it affect our relationship. So I called her and told her I wanted to talk, and we had a really long emotional discussion, and I obviously decided to not kick her out as long as she was able to cover her rent going forward. Then lockdown happened, and as of June, I no longer have a job. I was one of the newest people at the company I was working for, and so I was one of the first to go. And in a turn of events, my sister, who has been killing it in OnlyFans, is now covering for my portion of the rent until I am able to get back on my feet. So, thank you for your advice. I might have ruined my relationship with my sister and maybe even be homeless without it. Well, OP, like they say, sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. As long as you keep working, you should be okay. In the meantime, hang on tight, and it's a good thing that your sister now has your back. This one's from user AITA Med Twin Wedding. Am I the a-hole for not inviting my twin to my wedding ceremony because of his actions at work? Me, 36 male, and my twin, 36 male, both studied in the same medical school after high school. I studied in Central Europe, and we were best buds until our clinical years. At our clinical years, it started to change. In clinical years, we had a professor in intensive care unit, and she, 66 female, was literally a mix of Gestapo and Stalin. She has always craved power and total dominance in her clinic. She is really good at her job and has serious landmark publications that affected guidelines in our medical school years. All of the medical students, her residents, her colleagues, and staff hated her, but had to endure her. Me and my brother were in different rotations, and I can easily say she became his role model. He started to act like her, constantly pressuring, acting like her mini version, and she loved him as her little puppy. He changed his advisor to become her, and he is the only one in history that she advised. Thank God. It was purely dysfunctional, and after a lot of complaints and beggings to speak with him, I did, but it backfired and got worse. We had a big fight, separated our houses, and our parents were confused, but they did not pressure us. When we were in residency, he stayed in her ICU and became her golden boy. I ran away and moved to the UK for residency, currently at Scotland. He excelled really quickly. 5 SSCI published articles in his residency, first name in 2 of them, and more in his specialty. Awards and projects. She really raised him as her successor, and you can see that she crushed her other residents. It was 2008 when we started our residency, and mobbing in our medical community was not that outly spoken. Still need a way more progress, but it is better. So everyone sucked it up. My brother continued to study under her wings until last year. She retired. After then, it was clear that he would get her place, and he did in December 2019 and became way worse than her. I always had contacts in my old medical school, and he is a little Mussolini. Our contact was way lessened in that year, and we do not talk to each other than medical emergencies or holidays. Our parents still do not know why we do not engage with each other until now. For 11 years, I am together with my boyfriend, and we were not planning to get married until I was infected with you know what. I was basically turned from ICU and I realized I wanted. I proposed and he said yes a month ago. A day later, I called my parents to give the news. My fiancé has never met with my brother other than a wedding of my cousin, and he knows why I hate him. Well, I gave him the news and decided to say that I am not inviting my brother because I am viscerally disgusted from his personality and also his work ethics. They did not understand and blamed me on breaking the relationship on such a superficial issue. For me, it is not. They said they will not come to my wedding until I invite him. I am willing to go to the end, but all of the other relatives, even my boyfriend, says I should suck it up, let him come, and endure him for a day. Am I the a-hole? The judgment is not the a-hole. Now let's take a look at the top comments. KCrown2 says, assuming your twin isn't actually ethically unsound, meaning that he's been in trouble with an ethics committee, I didn't read anything that made me think that he necessarily wronged you or anyone else. It just seems like you have different values and personalities. It's your wedding and you can invite who you want, but you have to realize and be okay with other members not coming because of it. OP responds, he always sweeped his way around ethical guidelines and committees. I think he never plagiarized or became a first name that he should not be. He works a lot, but he definitely got warnings or meetings from the committee and HR because of his attitude in the clinic. Honestly, I am more than okay if my parents refuse to come. He viscerally disgusts me and is a bad name for our profession. My disgust level to him is far more superior than my parents' approval. I love them, but let's be honest, I hate him more. KCrown2 then adds, edit, I changed my judgment to not the a-hole. Sivan46 says, not the a-hole. Quote, suck it up and endure it for one day, end quote. Really shouldn't apply on your wedding day. Lady of Mordor says, not the a-hole. My parents weren't at my wedding because my dad abused my sister when we were growing up and I refused to have her being extremely upset and uncomfortable. She was 7 months pregnant at the time, just to make everybody else happy. I told my mom she could come if she wanted, but she refused to go without my dad, so stood my ground and said, that's that then. Your brother mistreated you personally. That is even more of a reason to not invite him. Parental opinion regardless. OP responds, this is sad, sad face. I hope she is in a much better place now. My fiancé was oh so abused by his older cousin when he was 15, and I know the trauma from the first place. OP's edit. Some questions that were asked by user A Sarcastic Werecat and the answers. 1. Could you perhaps give us concrete examples, e.g. shouting at patients, backstabbing colleagues? He was a tattletale. When he heard something negative about her, he would directly tell her. I know this from our medical school years. 2. Quote, because I am viscerally disgusted from his personality and also his work ethics. End quote. Could you please expand on the work ethic? It's good to be a hard worker if you want to get ahead. Does he falsify data for publications, terrorize his employees to work more than they should? I heard and saw camera records of him as a senior resident or as a specialist terrorizing her juniors, the anesthesia nurses in OR or the ICU nurses. He was really scary. I do not think he falsified data because most of his articles are good pieces. Love it or hate it. 3. Does his behavior put patients in danger? Honestly, no. I hate him, but he is really careful on his job. I would definitely trust his consultations. 4. Quote, our residency and mobbing in medical community was not that outly spoken. End quote. Is he also bullying? I cannot count how many I have heard. He bullied his junior residents, nurses, technicians, etc. I know cases he made them work extra hours just to get a few cases to be ready for his studies. 5. Does he know of your disapproval, or would he care? How would he react to this criticism? He knows I hate him and his style, as he calls it. He currently does not care, and I do not think he cares to be at my wedding. He only wrote a congratulations on my Instagram post, nothing more. 6. Would your wedding day be ruined if he came? It sure sounds so. In this case, it isn't something you should just suck up, in my opinion. I wouldn't put myself on fire to keep everybody else warm. Honestly, yes and no. It is just a 1-hour ceremony with no party or anything special due to the bug. But I still do not want to see him in my photos, and he is really disinterested to anything other than his work. Another info. No, I am not jealous of my brother. I can say this really easily, to be honest. I had a really different route of ascending, and it was much more relaxed than him. I also love conducting research, but not that devoted as him. I have a broad social circle and a side job as a performer in a rock bar. I am the main singer and bass. My fiancé is the electric guitar and back vocals. His brother is drums, and sometimes his wife comes as support in female vocal. All the revenue we earn goes to CLASP, Children with Cancer and Leukemia Advice and Support for Parents. They always need donations and do a really good job. I gotta say, my judgment is fairly easy on this one, not the a-hole, and for one simple reason. It's your wedding, that's it. You get to invite whoever you want, period. I understand your parents being upset if you don't want to invite him, but it is your decision and they shouldn't try to strong-arm you into doing it. But of course, that's just my opinion. So now, let's move on to the update to see what happened next. Well, we eloped 7 days after the post. My talk with family did not go that well. My dad, interestingly, understood and became content on the issue. He said, "I would talk with your mom." But my mom was another story. She literally nuked the relationship we have. After an hour of shouting and my fiancé seeing all of this, we decided not to invite her, but it happened that my dad could not leave my mom by herself. So we decided to elope since on my fiancé's side, only his brother could attend the ceremony and my extended family is off limits. I acted proactively though on my brother's workplace. I reached out to one of his junior residents who reached out to me before, 4 months ago, about him and helped him to file a rigorous complaint to their dean. My brother is currently in an investigation and it's almost certain that he is gonna lose his chief status. They also asked him to go to therapy and I hope it will have a good outcome on him. Current dean was a specialist while I was a resident and he informally called me. Honestly, I do not have high hopes, but I hope he improves. Well, OP, congratulations to you and your now husband on your wedding, which is what this post was originally about. So you didn't have to invite him to any ceremony because you eloped. It is unfortunate that your relationship with your mom blew up the way it did, but apparently you didn't care much about that either as you stated it in your first post, so that's cool too. Anything else that you've shared is irrelevant to the question whether you're an a-hole or not for not wanting to invite your brother. So all I'm gonna say is, the best to you and your husband in this year 2021, OP. Take care. Hey guys, welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit, Am I the A-hole? This one's from user Pretend Panda. Am I the a-hole for not moving to help my brother and sister-in-law with neurodivergent nephew? I am the lone, childless adult in my generation of a large family, and I live within easy driving distance of 5 siblings with spouses and kids. The youngest 6, all boys, are doing remote school from my house. They are 4, 5B, 5R, 6, 7B, and 7E. They're bright and curious, and I've been having a great time. Here is the Am I the a-hole part. The parents of 5R asked me to move in with them. 5R is neurodivergent. I had no idea about any of this before Sunday night, and really struggled with preschool. They were referred to a major academic medical center and giving a sucky prognosis. He's got an individual educational plan and an occupational therapist, and all kinds of everything. But since world events, he hasn't had any prescribed therapies or enrichment. Since school started back up at my house, he has normalized. He's reading and writing and mathing and will not stay in the house while anyone practices a stringed instrument, which turns out to be a great time for feeding the chickens. They took him for a reevaluation last week and were told that whatever they had done was important and needed to continue. 5R told the evaluator he wanted to come live with me because it is quiet. There are many books on the floor and there's a gecko. It is robotic, sort of. We, boys and I, have a deal about the gecko and its environment based on how school things go. I don't want to move. I am disabled, physically. My house is adapted, and I value the independence I have. My brother and sister-in-law's house is not adapted, nor is it easily adaptable. Multi-story, lots of single-step, up-down room thresholds. I get along well with this sister-in-law, but 3 of my other sisters-in-law, 2 stepmothers, and all 4 of my sisters do not. So the current modus operandi of visitors wouldn't work. I told them I didn't want to move for reasons above, and that I thought we needed to give 5R a while, and we can revisit any time. They said that was a good working plan, but I believe my sister-in-law when she says that's good with her. She is super direct and very clear about her wants and expectations. Who is not chill? My sister-in-law's family and friends, who are all over everything, yelling at and about me and my outrageous selfishness, depriving a fragile child of love and support. Also, bizarrely, my mom, who adores 5R and is just frantic that he have all the intervention and every other opportunity ever, now, right now, now. I don't care about my sister-in-law's family, but my mom chiming in gives me pause. It's plausible to me that not having had young children or struggled with getting a neurodivergent child to a healthy adulthood, my perspective is inadequate and I am making a selfish and destructive choice. So, am I the a-hole for not making plans to move, which would require construction and turmoil and create lots of adult relationship tension, and instead seeing how things go? The judgment is not the a-hole. Now let's take a look at the top comments. Princess of Perky says, not the a-hole. I think you're being so generous having them do remote school at your house, but in no way are you remotely obligated to move in with them. OP responds, they are so much fun. It is ridiculously fun. I think it's because I am not the parent and I am not the teacher. So I get to just think about what is the most engaging way for this particular small human to absorb this information and then do it with him. And they get along very well and try to help each other. Plus, their schedules and the school materials are so strange that I do not know how actual employed parents are surviving. Jack Burton says, not the a-hole. 5R likes your home and wants to live with you. It's quiet with lots of books. Him spending more time with you would make more sense. Edited. Because I found the sentence specifically asking OP to move in with them. I think they're missing the point, to be honest. They can try to imitate your home, but you moving wouldn't create the same space. Chat on the Danger says, not the a-hole, even a little bit. Part of the charm of your house to 5R is that it's your house. If 5R is flourishing under your guidance, they should be doing what they can to recreate your space and vibe in their own house and continue doing what you are doing that has helped so far. Who knows, maybe the change of you moving would make things work not as well, or maybe it's in part having cousins around that have assisted in the current progress. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, OP, you're not the a-hole for not wanting to move. First of all, it would be a huge inconvenience for everybody if you did, because their house is not fit for you, and you need that. That's not right to ask you to move under those conditions. Also, your sister-in-law says it's okay if you don't move and 5R continues to go to your home. Whatever anybody else has to say about this situation is irrelevant, regardless of who it is, even if it's your sister-in-law's family or your mom for that matter. They don't get to have a say. This is between you, your brother, and your sister-in-law, and that's it. And if you don't want to move, it is not an a-hole thing. Like the last commenter said, If it isn't broke, don't fix it. 5R can continue to go to your home and keep doing the great work that you've been doing so far with him and with the other cousins. But of course, that's just my opinion. So how about we move on to the update to see what happened after this. This is not exactly exciting, but it has been meaningful for us. I called my mom and told her she was not welcome to visit or call while the boys are having school here, because she's making a lot of drama prioritizing what will make her feel better about 5R over what he has asked for and what his parents, who really love their kids and do a damn good job, and their trusted professionals are advising. I set this limit because of feedback I got in the comments and a couple of DMs, and for the first time in recorded history, my mom apologized to my brother and sister-in-law, specifically for being disrespectful and thoughtless of their parenting choices and shooting her mouth off in a way that made a difficult situation harder. My brother, sister-in-law, 5R, and I had a conference call with the team that did his evaluation to talk about what we should be focusing on and how best to work on his schoolwork. And they said to take cues from him and not to get into a pattern of him getting overstimulated, because then he will be less able to self-regulate in other ways. And it was like watching comprehension fireworks go off for my brother and sister-in-law, so that was very great. This call was made because of a specific comment, and it has been a big deal for 5R and his family. Huge! I do not think life-changing is an understatement. My sister-in-law has gone no contact with her family, because she considers all the social media stuff they did to be really overstepping, petty and mean, and doesn't want her kids to think that it's okay in the family to try to bully by humiliation. We had a big meeting with 5R, all the other cousins, and all the parents. The result is 5R is now staying at my house Sunday, Monday, and Thursday nights. He has his own room. He refers to this as one bed for each butt cheek, which is almost certainly stolen from an older brother or cousin. And starting in 2021, every fourth weekend, all the cousins are sleeping over Friday and Saturday nights. It will be absolute havoc. So thanks again, people of Am I the A-hole? Your thoughtfulness has been really valuable to us. Well, OP, it sounds like a win-win-win all around. Your mom apologized and backed off, which was good. Your sister-in-law has gone no contact with a family that was trying to bully you by making you feel bad, which just shows the kind of support and that she has your back. Also, it's great that she's doing that to teach her kids not to bully people by humiliation. That's a really good lesson that she's giving them. So overall, I'd say everything is working out great for you guys. You have a schedule and you're going to have the kids, which you love to do, in your house a lot. So you get the company and you get to work with them, which is something that you definitely enjoy. So OP, the only thing that's left to say is all the best to you and your nephews for this 2021. Take care, OP. This one's from user Teo. Am I the a-hole for not being sufficiently angry after a colleague took credit for my work? I'm a teacher in a private languages academy. I was asked to do an online lesson plan for every age, group and level, and to be used by all the teachers. I needed to include the plan, lessons, games, slides, tests for French and English courses, plus a training workshop for my colleagues. I was basically doing everything the teachers will use on every lesson starting November 16th, since most of them are old and there are some complaints from parents about lessons quality. 3 weeks ago, one of my colleagues' son started working with us, and my boss gave him access to all my material because he is young too, he knows about these things. But he didn't help at all. You can imagine my surprise when he sent everything I did, and that was still being edited, to everyone after changing some colors and presenting it as his own. I was extremely angry and talked to my boss, but they said I was lying because I wasn't angry enough for someone whose work was stolen, and that I should be happy we all would benefit by the material he did, and that he had informed my boss that I was sabotaging him and he requested for me to be taken out of the team. I need the money and can't quit, so I calmed down and asked my boss to send me the info about leaving the team and my next tasks by email, and he did. Now I'm working part-time. I was off today and my colleagues had their training, but my boss was calling me non-stop until I answered around 10 p.m. Basically, the guy didn't know how to explain the plan, apps, and strategies to be used, and some colleagues noted typos in the material. I didn't finish editing and have ADHD, so there must be quite a few typos. They asked him to correct it. The guy couldn't because he doesn't know enough English and doesn't know French at all, and told the truth after being pressured. When I answered, my boss yelled at me because there are only 3 days to fix everything and told me I need to have everything done by Sunday midnight because it's my fault since I should have insisted more, yelled or something when he sent the email. The thing is, he reduced my hours and I scheduled some tutoring hours that pay more this weekend and won't cancel them, so I won't help with the plan anymore because I'm not part of the team. My boss is terribly angry and is still texting me at 2:30 a.m. telling me how I'm effing up everyone's job and the students will be sad because of me, and I'm sleepy and feel like a jerk because I know some students love the lessons and they haven't had great lessons lately. So, am I the a-hole? The judgment is not the a-hole. Now let's take a look at the top comments. Adopted Human says, not the a-hole. He didn't believe you when you complained, and it doesn't seem like he tried to check if there was an issue. Go to bed, and if he keeps annoying you, tell him you didn't help because he wasn't sufficiently desperate. OP responds, I reported it and handed my resignation directly to the owner who is stuck in the US because of the bug and doesn't know much about day-to-day activities. He was extremely apologetic, offered me another job, but I refused and said he'll pay me November and half of December either way. Asked me not to inform my boss we spoke because he needs to check some accountant things, but that his plan is to fire them and start Christmas vacation earlier for students. OK Albatros says, not the a-hole. As was said previously, turn off your phone and get a good night's sleep. You didn't F anything up. He did, and he is using you as a scapegoat. In the morning, I would text him, enough. You need to stop blaming me because you refused to believe that I was telling the truth about my work being stolen. You even punished me for it by taking away my work hours. How dare you now try and threaten me? I've copied all of your text and I'm now forwarding them to HR. Assuming you have an HR department. If not, tell him all of the above and report him to whoever is his higher up. And do so immediately before he can go running to them with lies. OP responds, thanks, what you wrote helped me see things clearly last night. I was really tired and a bit emotional, but what you wrote about using me as a scapegoat opened my eyes. I resigned today and feel great to be honest. NMC Azrael says, not the a-hole. Instead of apologizing for the accusations and reduced hours, he demands you redo everything in 3 days? F him. You should get a good night's sleep knowing he screwed himself. OP responds, my boss called my mom because she is my emergency contact. My poor mom was sleeping and just called my landline all worried because my effing boss called her at 3 a.m. and I wasn't answering her on my cell phone. You're right, F him. I'm going to bed. Yeah, OP, there are two major a-holes in your story. The first one is the moron who stole your work and tried to pass it as his own. That's just wrong, but he got what he had coming because he didn't know anything about what you did. He was just trying to get ahead using you as a ladder. To be honest, if it was me, I would find a way to make it known that this guy steals other people's work. And the other bigger a-hole is your boss, which has to be said is also a moron. First of all, he gives all of your material to the first idiot, then he takes you off the team and reduces your work hours. And then when the other moron gets outed by his incompetence, they try to put it all on you and blame you and have you do it all quickly. Nah. F both of them. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if both those idiots are buddies and one is trying to help the other get ahead by giving him all your materials, but he didn't count on his friend being such an incompetent fool. Anyways, let's continue with the update to see what happens. Background: I worked at a private languages academy and my boss hired a mother and son duo. Boss shared my work with the son so he could learn and help, but the guy took credit for everything I did and sent an email presenting it as his. I complained, but my boss didn't believe me and reduced my hours. The truth came out after he failed to train others on how to execute the plan just a couple of days before the thing was supposed to be executed. Boss freaked badly and texted me non-stop in the middle of the night. He even called my emergency contact, my mom, at around 3 a.m. He blamed me for everything and said he didn't believe me because I wasn't angry enough when I complained and asked me to fix everything in 2 days. I told him I couldn't, and then he harassed me even more because I would ruin our students' learning. All of that happened after midnight. I was tired and felt super guilty about the students. Using a template that user Merlin Kilgara S565 kindly sent, plus ideas other Redditors gave me, I redacted a formal complaint and sent it to the owner. The owner is a former student of mine and he is stuck in another country because of the bug. The owner called me on Zoom and was very shocked because he wasn't informed of the mother-son hiring. He didn't know of the multiple complaints from parents about the online lessons' quality or that several students had stopped taking lessons, and he had no idea all plans to start online courses were basically ruined. The owner emailed that he needed to check some financial aspects because the boss was his new girlfriend's brother and was supervising 3 different businesses, and asked me to Zoom again next Wednesday, but told me he would pay me my full salary for November and half December. On Wednesday, he moved the meeting for next Thursday, but I was busy. We emailed because he was investigating and I was helping, but we didn't talk until yesterday. Basically, my boss hired close friends of his, the same 4 people, in all the places he was supervising, fired tenured employees and was stealing money because he told clients not to pay in our currency and only use US dollars in cash, so owner is not even sure how much he lost. The academy had to close. They lost too much money and too many students to continue. Owner said that he knows he promised to pay me November and part of December, but that he is sorry and that's impossible now. He will only pay me $50 since the business was shared with his ex-wife and he had to pay her to avoid a bigger legal mess, because it was his new brother-in-law the one who effed up everything. I'm jobless, but tutoring lots of former academy students, and a former colleague told me the owner is now single and the boss is hiding. Ah, so we have another idiot in this whole story. Not an a-hole, but an idiot. The owner. Nepotism got the best of him, didn't it? I hope the owner, now that he's single, will hunt that effer down and make sure he takes him for everything he's got. And if he's got nothing, then put him in jail. But that's just my wishful thinking. And that's it for this video. If you'd like, here are other videos from my channel that you would enjoy. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.